The plane smelled like coffee and fresh perfume. People were moving around, looking for their seats, some talking on their phones, others struggling with their bags. It was one of those early morning flights where everyone looked half awake, trying to find comfort in a small space. Jennifer Lopez, no, not the singer, was sitting quietly in seat 2A, a window seat in first class. She wore a soft gray sweater, black jeans, and glasses that gave her a calm, thoughtful look. Her hair was braided neatly, and her skin glowed like someone who knew peace, not chaos. She didn't talk much, just smiled politely when the flight attendant asked if she wanted water. But peace doesn't last long when pride walks in. Sir Martins entered the plane like he owned it. Tall, confident, and loud, his voice filled the air before he even sat down. He was dressed in a fine navy blue suit that screamed money. He had that kind of face that never smiled, but always looked like it wanted to be admired. People's eyes followed him, not because of charm, but because of the energy that demanded attention. He scanned first class, then stopped. His eyes landed on Jennifer. For a second, he squinted, as if what he saw couldn't possibly be right. He looked at her like someone had made a mistake. He put his bag in the overhead bin, turned toward her, and said with a half smile, "Excuse me, I think you might be in the wrong seat." Jennifer looked up, calm and kind. "No, sir, 2A. That's what's on my ticket." He gave a small laugh that didn't sound kind. "I'm sure that's what it says, but this is first class. Maybe they printed it wrong. I'll call the attendant for you." Jennifer blinked slowly, still polite. "No need. I'm fine right here." Sir Martins frowned. "Look, I don't mean to offend, but I've flown this route for years and I've never seen—" He stopped himself. "Never mind. Let me just check." He raised his hand, signaling the flight attendant. The young woman came rushing over, trying to smile through the tension she felt rising in the air. "Yes, sir," Sir Martin said, nodding toward Jennifer. "This lady here, I think she's in the wrong section. Could you please check her ticket?" Jennifer handed it over without a word. The flight attendant looked at it, then looked at him. "Sir, she's exactly where she's supposed to be." There was a short silence. Sir Martins forced a chuckle. "Oh, my mistake." He gave a tight smile, but his pride was bruised. He sat down in 2B, right beside her, trying to hide his embarrassment. But embarrassment, like perfume, has a way of staying in the air. Jennifer turned her face toward the window, pretending to look at the runway, but she could feel his eyes on her. She could feel the heavy air between them. A few minutes later, the plane began to move. The captain's voice came over the speaker, and everyone settled in for the flight. But Sir Martins couldn't. His mind raced, searching for a way to fix what he thought was a simple misunderstanding. He leaned over slightly. "You must have gotten an upgrade," he said, his voice low. "Lucky you." Jennifer didn't respond. She wasn't angry, just quiet, like someone who had seen this kind of thing too many times before. He smiled, trying again. "I'm guessing this is your first time in first class." She turned her head slowly, her eyes steady. "No, not my first." He gave a small laugh. "Right, of course. Well, enjoy the flight." She nodded once, then turned back to the window. For the next 30 minutes, he kept sneaking glances at her, his mind working like a machine that wouldn't shut off. Who was she? Why did she look so calm? Why did it bother him that she didn't seem to impress him? The flight attendant came by with drinks. Sir Martins ordered champagne. Jennifer asked for coffee. Simple, no sugar. He watched her take a slow sip, her movements precise, graceful. There was something about her that made him uneasy, not because she said anything rude, but because she didn't try to prove herself. When they landed, he rushed to get off the plane first, pride again. But as fate would have it, they met again at baggage claim. Jennifer stood quietly, scrolling through her phone. Sir Martin's was on a call, talking loudly about a major business deal and a new partnership. He spoke like a man who loved the sound of his own voice. Then she looked up and their eyes met again. He gave a polite nod. "Well, small world, huh?" She smiled faintly. "Seems that way." He was about to say something else when his phone buzzed. He looked down and froze. The message read, "Meeting confirmed. CEO Jennifer Lopez will be joining you at 3 p.m. today. Be prepared." His stomach dropped. Jennifer Lopez, CEO, his boss's boss's boss, the one who signed his paychecks. He looked up slowly. Jennifer was already walking away, her bag rolling quietly beside her. She didn't look back. Didn't need to. He stood there, speechless. Everything inside him twisted, embarrassment, regret, disbelief. The same woman he'd told to leave first class now held his career in her hands. But the story didn't end there. Later that afternoon, at the company's headquarters, Sir Martin's walked into the conference room, sweating slightly despite the air conditioning. He straightened his tie 3 times before entering. The room was filled with senior executives, all waiting for the CEO to arrive. Everyone whispered about her. "She's brilliant, tough but fair. Doesn't like arrogance," another whispered. He swallowed hard. Then the door opened. Jennifer walked in, calm as ever, wearing a dark suit and those same glasses from the flight. Her presence changed the air in the room instantly. Everyone stood up, except Sir Martin's, because he was frozen. She smiled politely at the group. "Good afternoon, everyone. Let's get started." Her eyes met his, but she didn't say anything yet. Not a single flicker of recognition crossed her face. He forced a smile, trying to pretend everything was fine, but inside his heart raced. Each time she spoke, her voice was confident and clear. She talked about leadership, integrity, and respect, words that cut deeper than she knew. Or maybe she did know. When the meeting ended, people began to leave, but then she said, "Mr. Martins, could you stay behind for a moment?" The room went silent again. Heads turned, but no one dared to linger. He stayed seated, nervous smile plastered on his face. She closed the door after the last person left and turned to him. "Quite a surprise, isn't it?" she said softly. He nodded quickly. "Miss Lopez, about the flight." She raised her hand. "No need to explain. I already understand." Her tone wasn't angry, it was calm. Too calm. That was worse. He swallowed. "I'm deeply sorry. I didn't mean to assume I didn't belong there, or didn't mean to get caught." He looked down. "I was just surprised, that's all." Jennifer took a step closer. "You know, Mr. Martins, surprise is not a crime, but disrespect is a choice." He felt that in his chest. "I believe everyone deserves the same respect, whether they're wearing a suit or sneakers, whether they're sitting in first class or at the back." He nodded. "You're absolutely right." She looked at him quietly, then said, "I'm not angry, but I do hope you'll remember this moment the next time you think you know who someone is." He wanted to speak, to explain himself, but she smiled, a calm, knowing smile that silenced him. Then she turned toward the window, her voice soft. "Funny thing, isn't it? The world is small. You never know who's sitting beside you or who signs your paycheck." And in that moment, his pride collapsed completely. He left the room feeling like the ground beneath him had shifted. But what Jennifer did next would shock him and everyone else in the company, because she didn't just forgive him, she did something far more powerful, something that would change both of their lives in a way no one could predict. Stick around until the end, because you're going to see exactly how the black woman signed his paycheck and what she did next that no one saw coming.
Sir Martins couldn't sleep that night. He kept replaying the scene in his head, her calm voice, her steady eyes, that line about respect. It echoed inside him like a bell that refused to stop ringing. He wasn't used to being humbled, not like that. He'd built his career on power, talking louder, walking faster, knowing more. But for the first time, silence felt heavier than words. He didn't know what to do with it. The next morning he came to work early, hoping to slip into his office before anyone noticed. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Jennifer Lopez was already there. She stood by the large office window, sunlight spilling over her shoulder. Her gray suit looked sharp but effortless, and she held a cup of coffee with both hands, like she wasn't in a rush to conquer anything. "Good morning, Mr. Martins," she said without turning around. He froze. "Good morning, Miss Lopez." "Please," she said, turning to him with a faint smile, "call me Jennifer. We're not strangers anymore, are we?" Her tone was light, but he heard the weight underneath. He forced a small laugh. "I guess not." She gestured toward a chair. "Sit down. I have something I want to discuss." He obeyed, still unsure if he was walking into a promotion or a storm. Jennifer sat across from him, folding her hands. She began, "Tell me, why do you think people respect you at this company?" He blinked, caught off guard. "Because I work hard. I deliver results." She nodded slowly. "And that's good. But respect isn't just about results, is it?" He shifted in his seat. "I suppose not." She leaned forward slightly. "You see, Mr. Martins, leadership isn't measured by how loud we speak or how many titles we have. It's measured by how we treat people, especially those we think can't do anything for us." Her words landed like quiet thunder. He nodded again, not trusting himself to speak. Jennifer smiled kindly. "I know you're talented. I've read your reports. You're one of the smartest people here. But smart isn't the same as wise, and confidence isn't the same as respect." He looked down. "You're right. I made a mistake. I'm not asking for an apology. I'm offering you a choice." He looked up, confused. "A choice?" "Yes." She stood up and walked to her desk, pulling out a folder. "There's an opening in our community development branch. It's a 6-month assignment in Atlanta, not glamorous, but important. We're partnering with small businesses, mentoring young entrepreneurs, and teaching leadership values." She placed the folder in front of him. "I think it would be good for you." He stared at it, stunned. "You're sending me away?" She smiled. "I'm giving you a chance to grow." He wanted to argue, to explain, to say he didn't need growth, but something inside him stopped him. Maybe pride had finally learned to be quiet. He nodded. "When do I leave?" "Next week," she said softly. "You'll do fine." And with that, she turned back to the window, as if the conversation had ended. Atlanta was hot, loud, and nothing like his comfortable corporate office. The community branch was in an old building with peeling paint and mismatched chairs. His desk was a folding table near a window that rattled every time a bus passed by. For the first few days, Sir Martins hated it. The computers were slow, the coffee was bad, and the people didn't seem impressed by his expensive suit. But slowly, painfully slowly, something began to change. He met a group of young people trying to start a small bakery. They had big dreams and no money. Instead of brushing them off, he started helping them, drawing business plans, teaching budgeting, showing them how to pitch investors. At first, he did it out of obligation, but then something surprising happened. He started to care. He watched how these people, with no titles, no fancy offices, worked together. respected each other, and lifted one another up. They reminded him of what success was supposed to mean. He stayed late. He laughed more. He listened more. One evening, as he walked out of the center, he saw a small crowd of kids selling handmade bracelets. One little girl ran up to him. "Sir, buy one, only $2." He smiled and bought 3. As she handed them over, she said proudly, "My mom says every boss should remember what it's like to start small." He smiled again, but this time it wasn't forced. "Your mom is very smart," he said. He wore one of the bracelets to work the next day. Weeks passed. The bakery launched successfully. The community center thrived. And for the first time in a long time, Sir Martin's felt something he hadn't felt in years. He realized Jennifer hadn't punished him. She'd saved him.
6 months later, he returned to headquarters. The building looked the same, but he wasn't the same man who had left. He walked slower, spoke softer, listened longer. When he stepped into the conference room again, everyone turned to look at him. They noticed something different, not in his suit or his hair, but in his eyes. Jennifer was already there, reviewing some documents. She looked up and smiled. "Welcome back, Mr. Martins." He smiled genuinely. "Thank you, Jennifer." "How was Atlanta?" she asked. "Eye-opening," he said quietly. She nodded. "I heard good things. The bakery project was a success. They even mentioned you in the local paper." He chuckled. "I didn't do much. They did all the hard work." She leaned back, studying him. "I'd say you've changed." He looked at her. "You were right. I thought leadership was about being powerful. Turns out it's about being useful." Jennifer smiled. "That's a lesson most people never learn." There was a pause. Then she stood up and walked to the window, the same way she had that first day. "Mr. Martins," she said softly, "I didn't send you away because I was angry. I sent you away because I saw something in you. You were proud, yes, but also capable of more than you realized. Sometimes life teaches us through humility what success never could." He nodded. "Thank you. For everything." She turned, smiling. "You're welcome, but you don't owe me thanks. You earned it." She handed him an envelope. "Inside is your new contract. Congratulations, you're being promoted to Vice President of Regional Development." He blinked in shock. "You're promoting me?" She nodded. "You earned it. You learned the kind of leadership this company needs." He took the envelope, his heart pounding. "I don't know what to say." She smiled. "Say you'll keep growing, that's all." He nodded again, but then hesitated. "Jennifer." "Yes?" "I never asked you something. Why didn't you fire me? You could have, after the plane." Jennifer smiled softly. "Because I've been in your shoes. Years ago, someone looked at me the same way you did, like I didn't belong. I promised myself that if I ever got the power to change that story, I would." She looked at him with quiet strength. "I didn't want to shame you. I wanted to show you." And with that, he understood. She hadn't just signed his paycheck. She'd rewritten his story. Months later, at an awards ceremony, Sir Martin stood on stage holding a plaque for outstanding leadership and community impact. Reporters snapped pictures, lights flashed, and people cheered. He looked down at the bracelet still on his wrist, the one from the little girl in Atlanta. It reminded him of where he'd been and who had helped him become who he was now. When he stepped down, Jennifer met him backstage. "You did well," she said. He smiled. "You taught me well." She laughed. "I didn't teach you. I just opened the door." He looked at her thoughtfully. "And I almost asked you to leave a plane seat." Jennifer smiled knowingly.
Sometimes the people we try to move out of our way are the ones who were sent to move us forward. He nodded, eyes shining. You're right. She extended her hand. Congratulations, Mr. Martins. He shook it firmly. No, thank you, Miss Lopez. They both smiled, understanding the unspoken truth between them. That power means nothing without grace, and respect is worth more than pride. And from that day on, Sir Martins never judged another person by what they looked like, where they sat, or how they spoke, because he knew the woman he once dismissed was the same one who taught him the greatest lesson of his life. She was the black woman who signed his paycheck, and in more ways than one, his redemption. Be part of our community and share in these meaningful stories. Just hit like and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you can start your day with inspiring lessons and heartfelt moments.